Good morning and welcome to day number 9. Abram Saves Lot. So Lot lived in Sodom and Abram lived in his tent on the mountains of Canaan. At that time, in the plain of Jordan, near the bed of Dead Sea, there were 5 cities, of which Sodom and Gomorrah were 2. And each of the 5 cities was ruled by its own king. But overall, these little kings and their little kingdoms was a great king who lived far away near the land of Chaldea, from which Abram had come. He ruled all the lands, far and near. After a time, these little kings in the plain would not obey the greater king, so he and his army made war on them. A battle was fought on the plain near Sodom, and the kings of Sodom and Gomorrah were beaten in the battle, and their soldiers were killed. Then the king who had won the victory over his enemies came to Sodom, took everything he could find in the city, and carried away all the people in the city, intending to keep them as slaves. After a battle in those times, the army that won the victory took away all the goods and made slaves of all the people who had been beaten. Lot, with all he owned, was carried away by the victors, who went up the valley from Sodom and did not stop to rest until they came to the headwaters of the river Jordan, at a place afterward called Dan. So all that Lot's selfish choice gained for him was to lose all he had and to be made a slave. Someone ran away from the battle and came to Abram, who was living in his tent under the oak tree near Hebron. As soon as Abram heard what had happened, he called together all his men, his servants, his shepherds, his people, and his friends, and led them after the enemy that had taken away Lot. He followed as fast as his men could march and found the enemy with all the goods they had taken and all their prisoners at Dan, one of the places where the Jordan River begins. Abram rushed on the enemies at night while they were asleep, fought them and drove them away so suddenly that they left everything behind and ran far off into the mountains. In their camp, Abram found his nephew Lot, safe, with his wife and daughters, and his goods, and also all the goods and the other people who had been carried away from Sodom. Then the king of Sodom came to meet Abram at a place near the city of Jerusalem that was afterward called the King's Valley. With him came the king of Jerusalem, which at that time was called Salim. The name of this king was Melchizedek. Melchizedek, and unlike most other kings in the land at that time, he was a worshipper of the Lord God. As Abram was, King Melchizedek blessed Abram and said, "May the Lord God Most High, who made heaven and earth, bless Abram, and blessed be the Lord God Most High, who has given your enemies into your hand." Abram made a present to King Melchizedek because he worshipped the Lord, giving him all the people and all the goods that had been taken away. He would not take any pay for having saved them. You would have thought that after this, Lot would have seen it was wrong for him to live in Sodom. But he went back to that city and made his home there once more, even though his heart was made sad by the wickedness he saw around him. And that was the word of the Lord. Now we have discussion questions. The first one, how did Lot become a slave? Number 2, what did Abram do when he heard about it? Number 3, why do you think Abram won? 4, why had God let Lot become a slave? Did he listen? And that was the end of day number 9. May God bless you, and we will meet again here. Have a good day. Bye now.